Hello and welcome to Sam's on Wrestling. I am Sam and I am joined by the babyest of baby Sams.
I picked up on the merchandise now.
He has indeed.
I thought I'd get it in your hair colour as a tribute.
Thank you.
To remind me of you.
And I've got yours on your personality. Dark and mysterious. We are here as our round table. This is our discussion. Dark and mysterious.
That's what the ladies like.
I'm 5'7".
I don't put that in there.
I am so young that when I'm optimistic, I see the sippy cup as half full. So that's...
What have I started?
This is our round table series. It is a discussion series where we just bring up a discussion and have a chat about it. It's WrestleMania season. So I thought it'd be interesting. It's now been 5 WrestleManias, 5 years of WrestleManias that have been 2 nights. And now with the announcements that we're going to 2-night SummerSlams, 2-night Money in the Banks potentially in the future, 2-night Royal Rumbles. Just so we're clear, 2-night Royal Rumbles is the only one that makes any sense whatsoever. 2-night SummerSlam I can understand because it's like the WrestleMania of the summer. But 2-night Money in the Bank,
too much.
What are you doing? Stop it.
It's too much.
Do you know the only way I can get away with 2 nights being in a pay-per-view? Put it in 2 different places, but they're not going to do that.
I think they should still have it in the same place because then you can have people appear on both nights easily.
Right.
I just think it should be only Mania. Only Mania, that's it.
I can accept the Royal Rumble because, quite frankly, 2 Rumbles in the same night I think can be quite long, and I think it'd be really good. But that's my only view. So, Sam, what are your views generally, anyway, of the last 5 years? Let's just generally speaking of 2 nights WrestleMania. What's your feelings about it now? It's been 5 years. It's now. This is it now. Probably forever.
Unless they do 3.
I wouldn't shock me. What do you think?
I really like it. It's exponentially improved WrestleManias. Sam, don't act so surprised. We remember WrestleMania 35.
Oh, they went too far.
Yeah.
It's improved modern WrestleManias, but it's not like if you go to like WrestleMania 20, there's still plenty of matches and it was 4 hours long.
Oh, agreed. So I think, I'm a believer in that you should be able to do 1 night WrestleMania and you'd just be harsh, you'd be ruthless with who gets on the card because it's, as you always say, WrestleMania should be a very prestigious thing to get onto.
As most pay-per-views should be anyway.
Exactly. So if some people have to miss out, they have to miss out, and you do big, like, say, the US title misses out. I wouldn't want it to.
It's what Elimination Chamber's for, it's what Backlash is for.
Have a big SmackDown before,
I'm not a fan of that, but yeah.
No, I think if you have to, I think you can make weekly TV more important. I don't think that they should be a thing. However, if WWE are going to have to do this incessant thing of we've got a bazillion titles, we've got to get half of them on the show and then do a few feuds. If we're going to do this 12 match WrestleManias, then yes, please, for the love of all that is holy, have it as 2 nights. And it does work. I do like it.
I don't. I still don't like it because it's a lot of my time watching wrestling over a weekend, particularly as a UK fan, because you have to wake up. You either watch it live and are exhausted because it's 5 a.m, or you watch it the next day and have to avoid social media and watch it immediately. Yeah. And that's okay, the Saturday one that you watch on Sunday, but the Sunday one is on Monday, and you go to work and things like that on the Monday, and having to avoid it on a Monday is really difficult. So for me, if you go back and watch WrestleMania 20 through 26. It's 4 hours long, and they put all the matches on there comfortably. It's when they started to do what you said, which is put more and more on there. We watched WrestleMania 35 live. We went to a thing, like a TV thing in a pub, and we left at about 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, whatever it was. It was daylight when we got outside. We were exhausted. Now people go, well, you're from the UK. People were exhausted in the crowd.
They had to sit there for 7 hours because they had the pre-show.
More than 7 hours because you get there before your ticket starts, potentially. People were leaving for the main event because they were exhausted because it was midnight. Yeah. It had already crossed over to the next day.
Such a Vince thing to do.
It was. Stupid. So it was right to go for 2 nights if you were going to do that. So for me, even after 5 years, and don't be wrong, I think 39 and 40 are brilliant WrestleManias. I think 36, 37 and 38 are not. So technically we're shooting less than average. So let's see, WrestleMania 41. Let's see how we get on with that. But for me, I'm not a particular fan of it because I do think as a person watching, if I was there and I got to do a weekend of WrestleMania and to do the whole WrestleMania week, I think for the people who get to do that in the area and people flock to it, and I would love to do it, and if it's in England, even if we don't get a ticket, I'm flocking to the area. Absolutely. And I'm doing all the stuff for the day or whatever. I get them for them. And obviously you will sell out 2 massive arenas, you get 150,000 people there, fair enough. But for me, it's a long weekend, and the fact you're going to go to 2 nights with other things, I think we might get burnout again. But for me, I don't enjoy them. But we also wanted to talk about the idea of, were there other WrestleManias that could have been 2 nights where there was so much going on? Could we have had 2 nights earlier?
I think any after 30 and onwards.
Yeah.
Because this is when the problem actually arrived. I think they only did it because of lockdown, but people were calling for it a few WrestleManias before that because it was stupid. I think especially from 31, I think 31 was probably the last one I'd go, that can just about be one night.
Mm-hmm.
When you got to 32 and onwards, it got stupid. It got really stupid and self-indulgent, and we've got to get everyone to appease everyone so that they can say they've been on Mania. I don't believe in that. I believe that the best, absolute best, should be on there because we've got a much more stacked and deep roster now than we used to have, which is a great thing.
And throw in an NXT, which isn't even allowed to be involved and stuff.
Exactly. So I think with that, you've got to understand that you're going to have a lot of talented people miss some.
You're seeing it with AEW when they have some of their big pay-per-views and they go on for a long time and it's tiring.
And this is an example of WWE not moving with the times because people have shorter attention spans now and want shorter content. And I'm not saying you should
Which
do
is weird
a 2
because some
hour
of the
Mania.
matches are now like 20 minutes long and
Exactly.
I'm like, could we learn to do a 12-minute match?
Exactly.
You know you can do a fantastic 12-minute match, you can do it,
And
it's
sometimes
possible.
the crowd needs that change of pace.
Well, that's the thing. When they do the 5-match pay-per-views on these cards, they're all 20 minutes long,
it's too
and
much.
you're there going, "Where's the breather?"
It's literally, what happens is, if you know every match is going to be 15, 20 minutes, if you're in the crowd, match starts, I can go to the loo.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter, because I'm not going to miss anything. I'll come back for the third act of the match.
because WWE build a crescendo,
When stuff happens.
or build to high spots.
That's it.
So, yeah.
So you can, and that takes away a lot from the entertainment when you don't have the feeling the match can end at any point. But that's a bit of a tangent again.
Yeah, no, it works. It's what I was talking about for WrestleMania.
Yeah, I like it because of what it prevents, because we had 33, 34, 35 where you just are going insane because you're like, it's like a punishment that you've been forced to watch wrestling for so long. It's like, I've just watched so much wrestling. And I think 33 and 34 I watched live. Well, at 35 I watched live as well, but I watched it at someone's house.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the energy of the bar at least in 35.
No.
So
And we had more of us as well.
Yeah, that was difficult, really difficult. So I'm thankful for it changing, but I agree with your point that it shouldn't be necessary.
So let's have we wanted to do just a little bit of interesting talking about some of the WrestleManias and gone, what would have been the main event? I'm not well. So let's actually go from 30 onwards, shall we? Because you're saying that's when the problems arise. Because I think 35 is the easiest one to do, weirdly, because it's Kofi and Daniel would be one, which, let's be honest, probably should have been the main event. As much as Becky was the hottest star, the Kofi storyline became the biggest thing and it was the better match. It was a really weird one because we were all there going, no, Becky should be the main event, should have been Ronda, don't know why Charlotte's there. Do you not think they didn't trust Ronda enough, or did they not think Becky was big enough?
I think part of it was, it's our first women's main event,
Put
we
the
have
best
to get
women.
Charlotte in there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So that one was an obvious one. That's 2. And do you know what? I would have been happy for Daniel Bryan and Kofi beating night 1 and they get the night 2. Because let's be honest, the main event is night 2.
Yeah.
You know, when people go, what's the main event of WrestleMania? You're like, it's night 2.
Yeah, it's like Punk said, you can have all these co-main events, of the main event's the last match of the event.
And this one is still the last match.
Kevin Owens has not main evented WrestleMania twice. He kind of has, which is cool for him to say,
but he hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't. Well, see it this way. Do you want to know why there's not 2 main events? Because if you went, what's the best match of WrestleMania 40? You don't say, what was the best match of WrestleMania 40? Night 1. And night 2. You go, WrestleMania 40. When we do our list of the best WrestleMania matches from each WrestleMania, we're not going to have one from night 1.
It's not something now been,
2.
46 WrestleManias.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's only one main event. So let's go WrestleMania 30. Do you think Undertaker Brock is the main event of the second one?
Yes, but there'd be a problem in night 2 because I think that being in one night
is what made the Bryan thing.
The Bryan thing agreed.
Yes,
but how else do you end that show?
Yeah,
unless you say Triple H and Bryan main events.
Yes, and you go the other, which is actually what I was going to say to you. Is does Triple H Bryan main event, and therefore Bryan gets to go to Mania the next day, or is it the fact that it happened at the beginning?
Well, I think it's better that was all in the same night. Because
exactly, my
Bryan had just had that match, and then he's got to go again. I think it works better.
This is why I'm asking, because I think by going to 2 nights, some of these stories don't work unless you play it the way they did at 40, which is had the tag team match, which affected the night afterwards. But you can't do the injury spots.
Listen, I thought Seth should have wrestled the same night twice.
It's a missed opportunity. I actually agree. No, I agree. I'd have had Rhea and Becky open night 2, and I would have had Seth and Drew open night, and he would have started WrestleMania with a cash in. Rather with Seth involved, and rather than end the beginning of night start the night too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can say The Rock's pulling the strings.
The problem is Pete Priest was in a tag team match. That's why it doesn't work.
Potato.
Yeah.
But
hey, Seth lost at WrestleMania, so you know.
No, there you go. Yeah.
Just don't have Priest in the tag team match. But he was a tag team champion.
I'm not. It's pedantic.
No. So this is why I was asking about the night one, because obviously I know it's built for the night ones. That's why I'm asking what would have been the main event.
I think if you're gonna do one, do Brock Taker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because imagine ending the show on that.
Yeah.
Imagine leaving that show, you'd be like...
Well, they kind of did it with Roman Undertaker one, didn't they? And the crowd weren't happy.
But that was more sad because he was retiring, less than like, it's like someone's died. It's like, we've just seen that happen.
So now we're going to the one, because what about WrestleMania 31?
I think with 31, you could argue Sting, Triple H, maybe?
But is that a main event?
Of course it's
we
not.
still don't have the women yet doing great things at this point. We only have one champion at the time.
Yeah.
So there isn't a second champion. So that's one that I think that's the one that's the hardest to go.
That is actually quite hard.
That's your other main event. I don't think there is actually a second main event. That's the amazing thing about WrestleMania 31. It's a brilliant WrestleMania, but it's because every single match is really, really, really good. But there was no build, so there was no second match. It would probably have to be. I personally would have rebuilt the IC title match and put that as a ladder match.
Because I was thinking the IC title.
Because we can rebook. We can rebook if we wanted to. I would have put Bryan in the main event with the Intercontinental Championship, and that would have been a really good. Maybe against Ambrose or something like that.
Oh, you'd done a one-on-one?
Yeah.
No, keep the ladder match. No, I love the ladder match.
No, I love the ladder match as well, but I'm saying if you create a main event.
No,
you couldn't have a 6-man
have Dolph Ziggler in the main event. Who was in there? Stardust in the main event of WrestleMania.
God. Yeah, that's the one where the 2-night thing doesn't work. But then you get into 32, 33, and 34. They needed 2 nights in the grand scheme of things. But 32 is also a mess because everyone's injured.
Well, I'd say it's Undertaker Shane, isn't it?
I think it's probably Undertaker Shane. Yeah, I think
you have night one main event.
But you could have had the women. The triple threat.
Yeah.
Because that's the one. That's the one I would have gone with, because if you're going to do 2 nights, I personally believe if you're doing 2 nights, you should be building towards one of those nights being the women's world title match. Now, that doesn't mean it has to. In the same way that the men's world title match doesn't have to go on last either. I'll point that out, sort of thing. Like WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels Undertaker had to main event. Had to main event. In the same way that WrestleMania 18 should have been Rock Hogan, and at WrestleMania 25 shouldn't have been Undertaker Shawn Michaels, by the way, because it didn't have the storyline. Triple H and Orton was the main event. So when people go, oh, it should have made event. No, you just think about the match.
People forget the story.
But 26 had the story, had to main event, sort of thing. 28, Rock had to main event. So Punk could be angry about it, but in reality, that was the main event. There was nothing going to be bigger than it, as proven by the buy rate. But when we start getting into kind of these like future stuff, sort of thing, there are times when there is a bigger match, and the Usos versus Owen and Sammy was the bigger match.
100%.
And as much as Rhea and Charlotte could have been annoyed, and by the way, stole the show, probably themselves, in my eyes, that was the... they were... Was that Kevin Owens one? Was that the Kevin Owens Stone Cold one?
That Kevin Owens Stone Cold was 38.
Did Rhea and Charlotte go for that one?
I don't know.
Or was that the year after? I think it was the year after. I've forgotten. There's a tag team. Oh, Ronda Charlotte. That's the one. It was Ronda Charlotte WrestleMania 38, and Rhea versus Charlotte had a phenomenal match. 39. But that was the bigger match because Rhea and Charlotte didn't have a story.
It's not about we have to get this championship match on, or we have to have a men's and women's. The moment you start arbitrarily putting women in the main event,
you end up with WrestleMania 18 again.
Well, yes, and then you ultimately you're going, that's kind of sexist in its own way, because you're almost saying you need to have them because they're women. No, they need to be there because they're good.
Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 37 was one of the main events.
Banger.
Forget this banger. It can be a rubbish match.
Yeah.
We're talking because you can have a thing be the main event. Like Rock and Cena was fine, but it was the main event. That was one of the main events and had to main event. In the same way, if you had 2 nights for 35, Bianca and Ronda and Charlotte, Becky had to main event. Whereas in that year, the Usos and the Bloodline, that was the main event.
Yeah.
And last year, the tag team Bloodline, and then that was the main event. So you have to throw your hands up and go, sometimes that's going to be different. Absolutely. And I bet you there'll be times where the world title match won't feel the same.
Yeah.
And as we've proven in some of the WrestleManias we've said. So I do believe that triple threat match with the women, the WrestleMania 32, Becky, Sasha and Charlotte, have a different finish, would have been, I think, the main event of 32.
Okay. I'd take a shame from me, but I get where you're coming from.
I think that's a good big, huge...
No, I get it, but it was built a lot. Yeah. What would you say with 33? Because it's a hard one. Because oh God, you're not having Bray and Randy, and then Goldberg and Brock is great. I love it.
But it can't be the main event.
No, because it's 4 minutes.
And what's the women's matches? I've completely forgotten what the women's matches
Oh
are.
no, you've got a fatal 4-way.
Oh, is it that one?
And then you've got a 6-pack challenge and the SmackDown one.
Oh, which got thrown on because they were complaining that they weren't going to be on the card.
So you can't have that.
Oh.
What are we doing, lads?
I think it has to be Brock Goldberg, but could you imagine that being the main event?
Oh.
It was.
You'd be disappointed, wouldn't you?
You
on
would be
night one?
so gutted. You'd be so gutted.
There's got to be something else. Cena proposing to Nikki Bella. Closes off.
It wouldn't shock me if Cena did that, you know. It wouldn't shock me if Cena did that.
There's nothing else.
There
I
is
like
nothing
Mania
else.
33.
I
Unless you were doing the Hardy Boys, everyone would be going,
No.
hold on, guys. Why is the Bar versus
No.
Enzo and Cass?
I think it is the other world title match, or unless you have to rebuild up the Fatal 4-way.
Or just make Bray versus Orton decent. How
Yeah,
about that? How
to be
about that
fair-
for an idea?
To be fair, if that had been decent and better, then yes, that's probably...
Make it not a slideshow.
So, if we rebook the match, that's probably the main
We just
event.
rebook all of 2017.
Oh, God, yeah. And
Please.
let's finish off. Let's finish off with 34. And we can maybe pick and choose some other WrestleManias. But
Yeah.
34, what would be your main event of
Oh,
night one at
it's
34?
tough, this
Because
one.
this is one of the worst WrestleManias of recent memory to me.
I'd love it to be AJ and Shinsuke, but you just have a bit of an underwhelming match. And maybe
Yeah.
if they got more time, it'd been better. But then Shinsuke turns heel at the end, which isn't the end of a Mania.
I would have picked Charlotte and Asuka. And
Forgot about that, but then that was disappointing.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But if they had given the main event spot, because they've got 2 nights, so they have a set of 12 minutes,
Yeah.
get 22, and the right person win. That's probably the main event for me. I think
I
Sasha
could go with that.
Sasha Asuka for that one. You could even have done Cena Undertaker literally at the end. Would have been really good. You could have finished off it kind of in the same way that Stone Cold suddenly got a main event. You could have go Undertaker suddenly gets a main event. Any other WrestleManias that you think, oh my God, imagine if this would have been the main event of night one, sort of thing like that.
I think Punk versus Taker 29.
Yes,
would be great.
I think...
Maybe you'd have satisfied Punk a little bit more.
Yeah, I
But
think
either
so.
way.
What about the time when we had 2 world champions going on for a long time, like 21, 22, 23, 24s, all that sort of neck of the
Well,
woods?
you know what? Sometimes I think it's
Batista
not always best
Undertaker at
option.
23?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I thought as well? 24, Michael's Flair.
Michael's Flair definitely
End
would have
the
made
show with that.
Absolutely,
Not the triple
yeah.
threat.
No, I think that would have been a good night one.
Great.
And you could have said
Because
goodbye
it's
to Rick.
emotional end, and that's the end
Yeah,
of the night.
I think so, and that's what night one leads to. You can give more to a match by making it the main event. It closes the show. It can have a bit more reverence, or it can have a big celebration, rather than get lost in the show, or even worse, overtake something. I think Kofi's win deflated the rest of 35.
Yes.
It didn't help that the rest of 35 was also quite dull.
Oh, Triple H Batista immediately.
Oh, that's what killed the crowd,
Yeah.
but we were already tired going into the
Agreed.
match, yeah. So, anyway, what do you think of the 2 nights at WrestleMania? Is there any other matches at WrestleMania you think, do you know what, this could have needed 2 nights? Even if it's only 3 hours long ago, we could have built more, we could have gone bigger. What could have been a night 1 main event, or even a night 2 main event? Please let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go and follow us on all the medias, and join us again next time for another roundtable and Sam's on Wrestling.